very funny how we spend so much time trying to make the right decision and learn how to make the right decision and go to courses, become better at making the right decision. And very little time wondering for ourselves, what does make a decision right? You know, what is it? Because it's very, seems such a silly question, but in experience, talking with people, it's just not a very easy answer. Like very, so far I've never met someone like, oh, well, this is what makes it right.
The word decision comes from Latin, and it's decidere, if we use the ecclesiastical pronunciation, and which really means chop off or cut away something. But then I realized that it's almost, you know, if you picture a tree with different branches, you cut away one of them, but then what is that thing? What is that tree, you know? And so what came to my mind is that, wait a minute, it doesn't really exist. So I make it up. There is no really, you know, a real thing, a branch to cut away. There is no idea that is out there in our world, and then I need to decide, no, I will cut this away, which means I will not follow that direction. I will go in the opposite direction. It doesn't work like that, because I am making it up.
I love that. Tell me if this makes sense. I kind of was now playing with this distinction, which is action versus decision. And I think that this distinction, action versus decision, is a merely mental one, which is if the action I'm taking is just an action, is clean, I'm not adding anything on top. Mm-hmm. We experience it as an action. Oh, I did that. If the action I'm taking gets sort of covered in made up futures, like if suddenly we stop and think that, like, well, if I do this, this will happen. If I do that, that would happen. Then suddenly feels like a decision. So in a way, it's because you're not looking at the action anymore. Do I pick this future or that future?
When I was listening to you, I was thinking about, you know, in quantum mechanics, there is this very mysterious word. I'm certainly not an expert, but I know that in theory, you know, the little particles are potentially in different places at the same time. And so this is really, and then at some point, you know, the particle, when observed, if I remember correctly, they are at a specific place. So it's almost as if there is, in every single moment, there is an infinite potential, because of course I am deciding right now, like I could place my hand, I don't know, here on the desk, but I'm deciding to raise it, and then to wave it, to wave whatever it is. So potentially everything is every single instant is a moment when we make a decision. But of course, these are not important things.
It's true. I don't, you know, you didn't really decide to lift the hand, but then the question is, who made that decision? Like, you know, who lifted the hand if not you?
I think it fits with your distinction, the one you were talking about before, because of course it's just an action. There is no interruption of the flow, so there is no point where I consciously say, okay, now I am making a decision. Because when I think I am making a decision, it's already an interruption of the flow.
Wow, like, you know what I'm hearing here is that, in a way, it's an action when it's impersonal, when it's not really us,
yes,
being in charge.
Yes.
When it becomes about us, it becomes a decision, and we
yes.
start struggling.
Yes.
That's cool. Like, I haven't seen it this way ever, but like, does it make sense? Because it really feels like the only reason why something becomes a decision is when we think it's on us.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
why would
absolutely.
the force, why would the thing that makes us wake up and clean and do and say the right thing and do all the things that we do when we kind of are out of the way, why would that stop working in that specific case that you got stuck in?
Well, I suppose it's just, you know, we know that it depends on how much thinking we have going on in our head at that very moment. Because of course, the thing that seems a big thing right now, you know, and we've experienced that in many sessions with our clients, you know, that at the beginning of the hour, there's a decision in their mind. So there's an absence of clarity and they stand like that. But then at the end of the hour, they look at the same situation with different eyes and they say, okay, oh no, that seems, they either know what to do or they just don't care because they don't see it in the same way. They don't have the same story in their mind. So they kind of reconnect to the potential of the, you know, the constant flow that we live in, you know, this impersonal flow you were talking about.
So in a way, what makes this right, when we bring it back to the present, is the knowing, which could just be another way of describing just this something else driving us. What if we could trust that all the time? And I guess sometimes when we don't feel it, might be just because there's nothing to do.
And sometimes we don't realize that we are projecting into the future. It seems a subtle thing, right? But
Yes.
it goes undetected. But for example, because if I don't know, let's say that I think I need to eat more fruit. And it's usually, you know, if I have to decide, do I need to eat more fruit? That's a very abstract question. But if I concentrate on what I feel like doing now, for example, and eating, I don't know, eating an orange is not a big thing. It's not a big deal. So if I eat just one right now, then I have an experience of eating an orange and that will give me some kind of feedback, you know.
Yeah.
Do I like it? Is it bad? If I think that eating fruit is a nightmare, is it really that bad? But that comes only with, you know, following the instinct or even an idea, you know, of doing just one thing, taking just one step without without charging it with meanings that they're usually not that.
I love this. Oh yeah. Like honestly, like I'm just thinking, I would go back in time and I would ask our former client, I would ask, if you had to pick option A, what would be the first thing you had to do? Write that down. If you had to pick option B, what would be the very first thing you would do? Write that down. Now, forget option A and B and choose between first step A and first step B.
Yeah.
And I really think it would completely change
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
game.
Sure.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Cool. And if there's any, you know, if this brought up anything, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out and let's keep the conversation going. Because again, this is another beautiful example of why coaching conversations are powerful. It's just because they bring us back to the drawing board. So at any moment we can decide to quit or to just stay in the conversation, and it's inevitable. As we stay in the conversation, we will see more.